Hey everybody, this is Monica, and today I'm at the West Island Women's Center, one of my favorite places, and with one of my favorite people. And this is Ann Papayoti. Hi.
Hi, Monica.
So we're here at a single parent group that Ann just did, and it got me thinking about my journey into going through this transition of being a single, getting divorced, and how this center and Ann's course, what was it called? Separation, divorce?
Separation Divorce Support.
Helped me. And we're going to talk about that because I know a lot of you are going through this difficult period, and I remember it very clearly now that I'm sitting in the room that it all started in. And that first time, when I came in here, and
I remember.
and I wasn't as vocal as I am today. I actually couldn't speak. Yeah, I couldn't speak. I didn't know how to. I didn't know what to say. I didn't even know what I was feeling. I was going through this. I have to talk in front of 14 people, and I didn't know what to say or how I was feeling. And that group and Anne helping me through it. And actually we're still friends. A lot of us are still friends because we went through a really, really tough time. Mm-hmm. And if anyone who's been divorced or feels it, it's not an easy transition.
No, it's not. In fact, it's one of life's major losses. And Monica and I were speaking earlier that it's the same grief cycle, and they've proven it as mourning a death of a loved one. So we have to recognize that and allow ourselves the opportunity to actually grieve the loss. It could be the loss of the actual relationship, as Monica said, the loss of the dream or the expectation of what marriage was supposed to be or could have been. There are a lot of things that will pop up and come up that actually have to be grieved, but that's part of the process. And what I want people to know and to accept, and what I would always do on my first line is I would lead a support group for separation and divorce. The one takeaway I wanted the women to leave with, and I used to do co-ed as well, but the class Monica was here at the Women's Center, is that just recognize that what you're going through is a process. It's not an event. There's no start time, no end time. We're all on a different schedule and ability to grow and move through it. And the other thing that I like people to take away, at least on that first night, is that this is something to go through. You can't get over it.
And that's one thing that I wanted to get this feeling. I didn't want those feelings. So I was like, I'm strong, I'm tough, but no, we have to feel the feelings. Yeah. And that took me years. That was actually the most difficult thing because I was like, I'm strong, I'm out of here, I can do this. But I wasn't really letting myself grieve and feel those feelings.
That's right.
It's very important.
It is, and that's the way through. Otherwise, people get stuck. They either get stuck in avoidance or denial on some level, guilt, shame, regret. They get stuck, and so they're not able to go through. And the thing about the word through is it implies there's another side. And that's what I can tell you there is. And I was on this side of the table. I went through my own divorce. I was in an abusive relationship, and I lost my voice. I lost who I was. I lost complete, contact with my core. And I became a mom in this relationship, and it was when my first son passed away tragically in infancy. And I thought that changed the dynamic of the relationship. I thought that was the purpose of his life, and it would give us a new opportunity and a fresh start, but it did not. In the meantime, there's a second son brought in. I recognize now that I had no boundaries. I'd lost them. I didn't know what they were anymore. It was a blur. It's a state of confusion when you lose yourself slowly. I like to say, Monica, I used to use garden metaphors a lot.
Yeah, I love the weeds and those were the best.
But it was, it's like I realized I was like a flower not being watered. You get some fresh flowers, you put them in the vase, they look beautiful. And they look great for a little while, and you don't see, but it's a slow process as they start withering. They're dead. You're going to throw them out. That's what was happening to me as an individual, and that's what I realized. But my second son, there was a trigger point for me, and I think most people.
Yeah.
And when we go through these support groups and people find their voice because they feel supported and they see they're not alone, and they see that people will have their back, and acknowledge and validate the experience and help them through it.
And teach you. What we learned
Yeah.
is what is a healthy relationship.
Yes.
Sometimes you don't know because you don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And the 5 Love Languages book is the one I learned in the class.
It's a wonderful
And
one.
that's so important. You maybe sometimes don't know that that person is speaking to you in a language you think that they don't love you, and they actually speak a completely different language to you.
Absolutely. What we find in support groups, some women are here because of a background like mine, where there was abuse and humiliation. Others, there's just
An
no
ending of a marriage,
miscommunication.
and they don't know how to restart. In my case, I was dependent, completely dependent on somebody else, and I had to find my way to me and get to know myself, who I didn't really know. I was trying to be what other people were expecting me to be, and through that breakdown and all the support I've had since then, that's where I found myself, my voice, my everything. So
And that's-
everybody has a different journey into it.
That's right. The key of the journey is to eventually reclaim yourself, to identify and remind yourself of who you are, so you can stand true to that through
That's
everything. And boundaries simply protect who you are. It becomes knowing what your core value system. I know, Monica, you talk a lot about all these things, and this is how you are able to go through as your own best friend. And that's what happens. We build a network
Yeah.
of support, and we keep moving through. So if any of you feel that you are needs support, extra support in your journey, reach out to one of us.
Reach out
both
to one of us. And what's happening is in January.
in January.
So the West Island Women's Center have the next support group, and it's free.
Yes.
And 14 people in a class, right?
15.
So it's a smaller group. You will really get, it's 8 weeks, 10 weeks.
It's usually 8 weeks for
8
support
weeks,
group.
and it's really worth it. I know the first time I came, I actually told a friend of mine, you go, I'm not going to be walking into a room of people I don't know and telling them my story, but trust me, it's worth coming to. I know it might be uncomfortable at the beginning, but it's so worth it, because you have someone else to talk to about this, and you know, at the time you're going through this, people won't understand it. Some people, I thought divorce was not a big deal at the time. I didn't realize it was, as we were talking about, a complete death. I had to mourn the end of my marriage like I was mourning a parent or someone who died. This is a person you were married to for, in my case, 17 years. But you have to mourn.
Even if it was good riddance, like in my
It doesn't
case,
matter.
you still. I
It's-
had to mourn for me the dream of what I thought a marriage should have been and could have been, and also I had to learn, and of course we all have to learn in this process and in this journey, forgiveness. And it starts with
Forgiveness,
forgiving
yes.
yourself for. There's 2 things I want people to learn. One is you're finding your responsibility in the breakdown of the marriage.
For sure.
And for me, and when I talk to women who've been through abuse, that's a difficult thing to say. But he did it, not me. And we get really good at pointing the finger and blaming. And yes, the behaviors and the actions, especially in abuse, we can definitely attribute to the person, to the abuser. However, I found my responsibility, and that was freeing. And my responsibility was in the fact that I married him for the wrong reasons, because I didn't know who I was clearly. I wasn't true to myself. I didn't have my value system in place. And I ended up marrying someone I never should have. That's what I had to take responsibility for. Then I had to forgive myself for that, and for any guilt and shame and regret for holding on and staying in, until the point where the second child, where my trigger was, because we all have a bottom or a trigger or something that allows us to say, enough's enough. In whatever case, some of us get blindsided. The other partner asked for the divorce, and we thought everything was okay.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
heartbreak. It's if you feel like you get,
Of course.
you know.
But to be honest with you also, why not also look at the great things? Because in what I believe is everybody comes into your life for something. And then they leave when their part of the journey is over. So for me, I'm very grateful for all that I had when I was married and my 3 children and everything. And you know, sometimes you just have to understand that that part of your life ended so that another part. So forgiveness is key, not for the other person. Forgiveness is key for yourself, because you can either stay in the victimhood and stay in the poor me, and trust me, I'm
For
sure
me,
we
why
all
me?
stayed in that for
Why
a
me?
while.
Yes, how did this
Or
happen to
say,
me?
you know what, I'm gonna go through this and live the life that you
And
know.
what Monica is saying essentially is you have choice. And even if you didn't have choice in where you're at right now in the circumstance, you do have choice in how you think about it.
Exactly.
And you can choose to think about it one of those ways. Now, that's part of the process, though, to get there.
It's not going to happen
Monica
immediately.
did not think
Oh
of
my
it
God.
that way in
This
the beginning.
has been a 5-year journey, and I'm talking now like this. If you had told me this a few years ago, I was not in that place. What I'm saying is, every step counts, and
That's
the
right.
first step you take now
It's the most
in
important.
changing your life, by joining a support group, by telling a friend, by speaking to somebody, anything, but any small step in movement. What do you say? The energy, the lower energy is number one, victim.
Victim and conflict. And some of you may be stuck in anger, and rightfully so. You may have plenty to be upset about and angry about. You may be in the middle of a court battle right now, and something that's ugly and dragging you through the mud. Conflict for conflict's sake is going to drain you, and it's going to burn you out. And if there are children involved, it's certainly not good for that. And often we think we're protecting our children from something, and we're fighting for something, and we look at it from a different perspective. And this is why sometimes it's good to go outside for help. Your family and your friends, they've been in relationship too with your partner. It's a different relationship than your intimate relationship, but they've been in a relationship too, and they're going to have a clouded view and judgment, and they're going to either tell you to get over it, or to go back, or to do this, or to do that. If you get an outside objective viewpoint, sometimes you can see some options and some perspectives that you can't find on your own. So get the help you need so that you can be the best version of yourself, so you can be the best individual, whole, independent woman. I tell you, do that. That's when you'll be a good partner with someone else.
For sure.
And also you'll be the best mom if that's another role in your life, the best coworker if that's a role in your life, the best friend, the best daughter, whatever roles you play in life. Be the best version of you, and it's going to take starting with the awareness of where you're at, being willing to take that step Monica was talking about, and start the journey towards healing. Healing is a choice.
Just so you know, I took the class here. I went to 26 sessions at the CLSC. 26. They give you 13 initially, and then another. And then I did so many different things between all the books I read, all the classes I did here at the Women's Center, and everything. I was seeking answers because I didn't want to stay in that place. And obviously a lot of you know that it was through spirituality and connecting to the universe and other things, but every single step. But I got up, even though I was in a place that I couldn't get up. I really didn't know how to. And remember, I was in a new country on top of everything else. So it's about taking those steps. And the steps are also towards healing yourself. And when you heal yourself, you are showing your kids. For me, I'm going to tell you this. I've never said this before. But even when I was going through the worst time of my life, I had this vision of my daughter one day getting married. Okay, and not even though I was going through difficulty with my ex-husband, I didn't want my daughter or any of my kids to have to choose. So I did whatever I had to do to become amicable again with my ex-husband and everything that was going on, so that my children would not be affected. And so I need you guys to think that way. Have some vision. I know maybe now you're going through it and it's very difficult with your ex. But those children do not have to choose between one parent or the other.
What I would say to that, absolutely. Recognize that your relationship with your ex is not the same relationship as your children's with your ex. And you can support them in their relationship so long as they're safe. in his keeping.
Of course.
That's a whole nother topic, whole nother
Yeah, we're not
video.
going there now. We're just
But
the
as
beginning.
long as they're safe, he may feed them differently. He may let them stay. He may have different boundaries for them. He may have different chores or no chores. You may parent differently, but as long as they're safe, you've lost the right to tell him how to parent.
Yes.
And that's part of the acceptance and coming to a place of peace for yourself is letting go of control of how he parents. As long as they're safe.
That's it.
Give yourself some peace. Give your children the opportunity, the permission to love both of you. And there are a lot of apps and different things you can use to help make strategy easier if it's a difficult relationship with the ex. Overexposure, it's like a sunburn. Don't talk too much.
No.
Use email. Use an app like Two Houses. Is that what it's called? Two Hearts, One Heart, Two Houses, I think it's called. I'm sure Monica can put these up for you. There's different apps, but it's so you can schedule visitations. You don't have to talk and argue. If that's still contention, a point of contention. But at the end of the day, the goal of co-parenting is to be able to cooperate with one another for the sake of the child. That's when we have to separate the emotion from the business. And if you can approach, as Monica was saying, what she wants for you, if you can approach divorce and or if you're beyond that, the ongoing relationship with the ex, the relationship didn't end. It has to be redefined.
It has to be redefined.
No, not your friend. If you get there one day, beautiful. But in the moment, no. You've got to be healed and whole on your own before you could even entertain the thought of being in a friendship with your ex. But to co-parent, that's going to be the new definition, and that means we have to cooperate in things for our children. And now, boundaries around that, maybe I can't expose myself to him. Maybe I can't talk. He talks over me. He puts me down. Whatever it may be.
It depends on what your
So
situation is. You guys know best for yourself.
Yes, you do.
But you need to be able to realize that your kids are seeing this dynamic. And your kids are going to be choosing partners or relationships or anything in their life because you are their example.
That's right.
So remember that when you're coming to attack somebody in any way, form, or shape, little kids are watching you.
They are, and they pay more attention to your actions than your words. And they will notice the incongruencies, and they will call you out on it. And they will lose trust in you if they see that your words and your actions do not match. So, again, just to highlight what Monica said, it's very important. Your behaviors matter. You are teaching your children with each and everything you do. Also teaching them to experience the emotion. You cannot protect them from the emotion they need to feel. You can delay it for them. You can try to avoid it. A lot of people ask me in my practice, should I tell them? What do I tell them? Yes, you tell them.
You tell them.
You
I
tell
told
them
my
the
kids,
truth.
and they were small.
You tell them the truth at an age-appropriate level of what's happening. Otherwise, they're going to grieve twice, and they're going to lose trust in you because you hid something from them.
And you don't attack. Do not attack the ex. It's very important because it's not about you. It's about their relationship with their father or the mother, whoever's listening to this. And it's vital that what's going on for you it's not the same relationship. They need to love their parent.
Separate the relationships. Absolutely. I had a thought and I lost it. Oh, I know. Another question I often get, but what do I say when he's not showing up on time, or he no-shows a visit, or she doesn't call when the kids are at my home, or whatever that is. And they say, what do I say then? And they're wanting to, the intention is beautiful and it's pure because you want to protect the child from the hurt because you're hurting for them, but it's just delaying. It's better to say, I'm so sorry that this is so difficult for mommy to call on a regular basis, or for that daddy didn't show up this time. Let them feel. Let them express their feelings about it. It doesn't change what is. Otherwise, it's an act, if you consider it in this way, it's an act of betrayal.
It's avoidance.
Between you and your child for you to not tell the truth.
And also, if you can teach kids to feel emotions from a young age,
Mm-hmm.
they won't be adults that avoid
That's right.
emotions. You know, so it's important that you speak your truth and help them feel.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite books, if you're looking for some support with your children and how to say and what to say, is Divorce the Sandcastles Way.
Oh, wow.
There may be more to the title, but remember sandcastles. Oh, there.
Okay.
Divorce and the Sandcastles Way is a beautiful book with very specific how-tos, what to say, etc. And it's a good handbook for
Okay, fantastic.
single parents.
I hope some of what we said helps, even if it's a little thing that helps you going through your journey. And yeah, so the support group, to repeat, and I'll put down, I don't know if there is a link, we'll ask the Women's Center, but just check the West Island Women's Center's Facebook page, website, and it will be coming up probably for January, right? So
Yes.
it'll be an outreach program.
Yes.
So if you look up the
outreach.
outreach programs, and that's it, and I'll put the link to Ann's support, but really, you gotta do, if you're going through this, you gotta do the support group, because it really helps. If you need to do privately later on, okay, but it's good to be with the other women who are going through it.
And a lot of people say, like Monica, they didn't realize until they did it. And I began as a participant in a support group. I later then tapped into my skill set and became a facilitator. I've done this now for more than 20 years, but it is a passion, and I do want to help anyone who's ready to help themselves, because you're the one that has to do the work.
Exactly.
But what I do offer is guidance from experience, from having worked with hundreds and hundreds now of people going through the same thing you're going through on some level. Not your exact shoes, never are, but to express it and to have that support in a network and in a community together is a wonderful opportunity.
For
So,
sure. And
reach out if
also,
you-
everything that you think is your biggest, I don't know, obstacle or something that you're scared of, it usually ends up your biggest, it's sharing the story. Like, I'm working with kids with ADHD, with divorced women. It's all the struggles I went through. So our stories, sharing our stories, are what's going to help other people. So
That's
don't go through it alone.
No.
Okay? So bye, guys.
Thanks for sharing.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.